With so much talk about whether the Russians might have been involved in an attempt to influence the 2016 American presidential election, there are other concerns about whether Russia has had anything to do with recent efforts to disrupt America's power grid. How safe is the electrical grid from terrorists and foreign governments' interference? Back with us is Andy Ott, President and CEO of PJM, which operates the largest electricity market in America in 13 states and the District of Columbia. And joining us now is Dr. Gregory Reed from the University of Pittsburgh Swanson School of Engineering. He is director of their Center for Energy and the Grid Institute, the Electrical Power Systems Laboratory, and a professor of electrical power engineering. Is there anything you don't do, Andy? Yeah, Greg, it's great to have
a lot of hats, John.
Yeah. So Greg and Andy, thank you very much. Two real experts in this field. Is our electrical power system safe from terrorism, from foreign intervention, from disruption? Because nothing imaginable could hurt us worse than if we suddenly lost power across this country. Andy, let me start with you.
Thank you. I think, again, any infrastructure system is vulnerable to attack, as we know and have seen. I think the good news with the power grid is we do have a built-in resilience to the power grid where even if something would disrupt the power, we have procedures and mechanisms to restore the power in a I'll say quick manner. So although we all are vulnerable to the initial attack, I think there are a lot of activities done to protect and to make the grid robust.
I'll come back to that in a second. Greg, what do you think? How vulnerable are we?
Well, I think we're maybe less vulnerable than a lot of the general public may think. I think organizations like PJM, what Andy and his team are doing, what the utilities are doing, they are adding and have been adding a lot of robustness and resiliency against not only physical security issues, but also cyber issues. So one of the things that's important for, I think, the viewers to understand is that the grid is not operated through the internet. It's a standalone hardwired system that actually began to be put into place decades ago, well before the internet even existed. So the bulk system for sure, as Andy mentioned, where our large amounts of electricity are generated and come through and get delivered through the wholesale market, those are really void of a lot of issues around internet connectivity. What some of the other issues are that are developing are around communications. You have a lot of devices out in the system, whether it's in the utility networks themselves, or it could be some of these new distributed resources that Andy mentioned on our homes, at our businesses, industrial parks, that have a lot of interconnectivity and a lot of wireless communications. That presents a new vulnerability in terms of what we're looking at from cybersecurity.
Let me come back to this internet concept, because I think this might be hard for a lot of people to think. I mean, we think of the Russians hacking the Democratic National Committee headquarters to get the emails of their chairman and use them against Hillary Clinton. I mean, that's one thing. But you're saying that the internet system that is operated by the electrical power grid is independent and separate from the internet system that we use in our day-to-day life?
That's right, and I think Andy can talk to that more specifically about how they do that at PJM.
Right, essentially most of the communications that occur and the interconnectivity that occur within power system devices is really a private network and is not going to be vulnerable, if you will, to terrorist attacks from the internet. The issue is to make sure that the devices that we connect to the power grid can be protected. But as far as the power infrastructure, it is a very sophisticated communication system that really is more of a private network and not a public internet type system.
And I think this will be news to a lot of people, because I think, as I say, I think we sort of had the tendency that the internet is the internet.
Right.
and what you're suggesting is quite different. I'm assuming that when it comes to the physical security of your plants and the workplace and even your workforce, that protections are taken to make sure that your employees are not subversive and that your sites themselves are secured?
Yes, absolutely. And we actually partner with government. My company partners with the Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, Department of Energy. So there is a fairly sophisticated network of not only utility companies, but grid operators like ourselves and our government partners that really watch very closely the assets, what we call the critical infrastructure assets, to make sure the power system, again, although we're certainly not able to say we're never going to be attacked. But the point is if it does get attacked, it's robust and it is protected.
Right. Greg, given the variety of sources of our energy. Are there some that are more secure than others? I mean, solar versus coal versus natural gas? I'm not sure whether that's a dumb question or not,
well, as a professor, I can say there are no dumb questions, right? We always make sure our students understand that, and that's a great question. And I would say what's really good in terms of security is what Andy already mentioned earlier, is that we have a diversity of resources. And I think that diversity itself provides that security.
Yes.
So, you know, whether or not, let's say, uranium may be a little bit more vulnerable to you know, being an issue in terms of its supply and where we get it and how we maintain it versus solar.
So if we lost nuclear power, we'd still be able to continue operating.
Exactly right. So I think that diversity is very important, and that I think we do need to maintain that as we go through this very dynamic transition that we really haven't seen before in the industry, the changeover of resources in such a short period of time. The other thing, though, from a physical point of view, not just from the resources, is also the infrastructure that we have. So much of it is above ground, you know, our legacy infrastructure. And I think some of our physical vulnerability is more around natural disasters and, you know, extreme weather events. And we're seeing an increase of frequency of those types of activities that are having more of a negative impact on grid reliability than almost anything else.
That's an excellent point. And I know I was asking the other day about why do we have to have these high power transmission lines running through people's backyards and farms and the rest? Couldn't we bury them all underground? Wouldn't that be safer? I know there's a whole question there.
Right.
We were talking about that before we came in, and then going underground does provide more security and more resiliency, maybe even more reliability. But then we have to look at those costs, and they can be from 6 to 10 times more than putting it overhead.
I'm sure just putting them in and then also repairing them when you have to find disconnections underground. Gentlemen, this has been absolutely fascinating. I hope you both will come back. I want to keep talking about this subject. We've run out of time, as we often do on the Sunday Business Page. But thank you both for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
When the Sunday Business Page continues, how can a push cart help teach